God, Sun City Leatherheads podcast coming to you. Danny, it's been since a whole year since I've seen your pretty face. Like, oh my God, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, the podcast is on fire. I mean, we got NFL playoffs. There's already, of course, several coaching vacancies that we had already known, but now more. And your chest looks fine, Danny. We'll get through that. And then, man, this is exciting and depressing at the same time. And the depressing part is because one, of course, the Dallas Cowboys decided to not show up this year, get injured, and, you know, we still have the same stupid owner, which is actually the same stupid GM. And then, so, I mean, there's a lot going on with Dallas right now, a lot of pieces that'll leave player-wise, and then apparently coaching-wise, it might just be just the same carousel as this year for next year. Danny,
Hey,
how you
Jay.
doing today?
Well, doing well, Jay. Thanks for asking. But welcome to life as a Bears fan. Exactly what you've been going through year over year. So welcome.
Oh man, I know this is brutal. And then when me and Gabe were texting, and you sent the whole because I texted you guys first, like, hey, did you see that Chicago and Mike McCarthy have interest together? And then you guys are screaming no, and then the news broke that they asked to interview for him, and then you guys are really screaming no. And then all of a sudden, today or whenever it was, like you text me and Gabe, it's like Cowboys denied. Then I'm screaming no, and then everyone's just saying no. So
Yeah.
this is tragic news for, I don't know, I guess Cowboys fans, but I mean, I don't think he's the main problem, Danny. It starts with Jerry. Jerry's absolutely the main problem of why we can't get solidified and win again. And then I think it's Dakota with his IQ brain that can't read defenses, like he's right after. And then after that, it's just, piece. I know we were injured. We need better pieces within the depth, I think. Like Micah can't do everything. Lamb can't do everything. Like you guys got to get them pieces. And then Jerry's over here saying that we want to win a Super Bowl, but it may not happen for another 5 years because they want to be like, they don't want to they don't want to reduce Dak and other people's contracts to make it affordable. And then two, they just don't want to get the right pieces in free agency, whether it may be a discount at first to be better from the jump. I don't know. I'm totally distraught. I'm just going to start focusing on hockey and college football, because the Cowboys seem like they're just going to be in limbo for a long time.
Yeah. You know what? I think, if that's true, if that Jerry did say 5 years, that's a comment that he should have kept to himself. I honestly don't think that's the type of comment you want to tell your fan base. Because they invest so much money. Watching football is not cheap, right? Especially if you have to stream it. If you're not living in Texas, you're going to have to use Sunday Ticket, right? And that's like $300 there. Or if you want to go see them, that's like $600. Plus, you're not taking into account all the money they spend on, jerseys and memorabilia and all of that other stuff that, it's stupid. It's making him money. It's making his team money. But then you give no hope to your fan base, which I think it's a dumb move on his end. Sometimes he just says things that he shouldn't be saying, and to your point, it impacts you guys, like you as a fan, for the Cowboys, it impacts you by not having the same interest or love or passion that you have for the team.
And what's weird, Danny, as much as I hate both statements, I like the statement of us not winning because he's correct, probably, because at least he's finally telling the truth that I fucked up with all these contracts and how we leveraged everything, which wasn't a leverage to us, but the players that are here still or the players that have already retired with all the money that we owe them. I'd rather him say that than saying all in and then you don't do nothing and you give us nothing in free agency and you don't help nobody. And then going back to Mike McCarthy, if you are staying, sir, please, for the love of God, get a different offensive coordinator or just add one and have them choose the plays. Don't give up play calling because your play calling was atrocious this year. and it was so soft and trying not to lose. And I forget what the actual term is called, but you're definitely trying not to win with the play calling he did this year. And then when Rico Dowdle and several, like, it was mostly him, but the running game's working, and then you still go away from it, and it makes no sense whatsoever. And I don't know. If you're staying, please just give up play calling and just
And that's
coach.
the
Like, just do. Uh, Go
no,
ahead.
he's a leader. He's a leader of men. Like he knows how to build a culture. He knows how to do all of that. And
Right.
to your point, I think that's what I like about McCarthy, to a certain degree. But the whole play calling thing, that makes me nervous, and that's why Gabe and I were saying no to that idea of having him as be the Bears head coach. I mean, he's a proven guy. If you look at his resume compared to like even Mike Tomlin, like he's right there with Mike Tomlin in terms of winning percentage and playoff appearances and
Right.
all of that stuff. So he has success. But what worries me the last couple of years is that you guys have had great records. You guys have had 14 wins, right? A couple times in the last 5 or 4 years. But when it comes to the playoffs, it's like a different version of the offense comes out, and that's what makes me nervous. I don't want a coach that's gonna, you know, be timid in the playoffs. I need somebody who's gonna be able to take and elevate the team to the next level. And yeah, I don't know what's gonna happen there. I know that before we jumped on the pod, um, I think it was Ian Rappaport had mentioned that even though the Cowboys have denied permission for him to interview with the Bears, that they're still far apart on the contract negotiations between Jerry and Mike McCarthy. So maybe that's good news for you guys, if you're looking for a new head coach. But it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out, especially now with the comments that you mentioned about taking 5 years to actually build a winner, which hopefully that's not the case.
And my thing is, if you're gonna be far apart from negotiating with a coach that was just in your doorstep, then let someone else interview him. Like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Like, he's going to be a free agent coach on the 14th regardless. So if you're far apart with negotiations, then why the hell would you not just say, okay, interview him, just in case that, because we may not want him back, even though we're just here, stoodling around. And if you want, like, that puts a bind on Chicago too, because that's someone that they probably planned on a day. So let's say, like, next Tuesday they were gonna plan to interview him. Well, that day is now canceled, and then a coach that possibly could have been there Tuesday is already interviewing elsewhere. You know what I mean? So
Hmm.
it's troubling. And Mike
Not,
Vrabel apparently
not,
is going to be on your list too. So good for you.
yeah. Well, they interviewed him today, so I'm curious to see what was the outcome of that. My gut tells me he's going to go to New England. I just have a feeling like it's a
Yeah,
match made
mine
in
too.
heaven, right? It just makes a lot of sense for him to be there. Um, but you know how it is, right? There's rules when it comes to interviewing candidates. Like they have to actually not they can only interview one. They have to interview people externally, people of color, to fulfill that Rooney rule. So I just feel like the Patriots kind of did that yesterday. They interviewed, I think, Pep Hamilton and some other guy. I can't
And
recall right
Byron
now, but
Leftwich.
thank you, Byron Leftwich. So I think they fulfilled that yesterday. So if they truly wanted,
Yeah.
he's going to interview with them on Friday. He can technically already, agree and become their head
Well,
coach by Friday.
the, I and it sounds so perfect, right? Like, wait, Chicago let him get back on the plane? Hell yeah. He knows this building, he knows everything here, he knows how I am with Robert Kraft. Like, it's a match waiting to happen pretty much.
Yeah, and you and I were texting after, on Sunday, after we heard Gerard Mayo was fired.
That's
You and I
just
both said, "Oh, they're gonna go after Vrabel." Like that's the reason why they fired him. And sure enough, I believe it was like Ian Rappaport that confirmed that today. That was one of the main reasons why Robert Kraft decided to terminate him was because of the opportunity or possibility to have Vrabel come and lead that team. So, yeah, I,
oh
I don't
my.
know. I
And
think
you know what?
Vrabel. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, no. I'm going back to what you're like going back to the whole firing of Gerard Mayo and stuff. This is why the Patriots is probably gonna be in a limbo for a little bit, and then so many organizations they just never get over that because they just bail literally after 1 year. Look what the Detroit Lions did, Danny. They won one game, and Mrs. Ford something was just like, you know what? I think Dan Campbell's the guy. We have the right pieces in our office. Like we're just gonna have faith and see what happens. And look what happened. And like you look at the Patriots, they fired Gerard Mayo year one. Antonio Pierce with the atrocious Raiders like team. I mean, they didn't go get him a like a true quarterback. Like they didn't, you know what I mean? Like they didn't
Yeah.
try to help him, and yet now he's one and done too.
They didn't give him a fair shot, and I think you and
Right.
I have talked about that in previous episodes, right? When we first started this pod, is that the NFL has a really short leash when it comes to coaches or even players at certain times. But for like, you know, I'm trying to blank on his name. The coach for the Raiders, you mentioned his name just now. Anthony,
Antonio
no,
Pierce.
Antonio Pierce. Thank you. So Pierce, like, I talked to you about how he was kind of not having probably the best relationships with his locker room. I mean, Devontae Adams asking for a trade in the middle of a season, I think, was a clear indication of that. But you and I talked about how technically he hasn't been given a fair shot because his roster was crap. Like he had no
Yeah.
quarterback, he had no running back really. He was just kind of playing with tier B and tier C players, and it's hard to have success with
Danny,
when you're given that.
they gave him checkers pieces, and the rest of the league, especially in his division, had chess pieces. Like that's exactly what it was. Like you had
Yeah,
Max Crosby, and then who else, right? Who else? So it's a sad. I mean, poor tight end is like one of the best tight ends ever now because he had like the most catches by a tight end or something for a season or
yeah, he
something,
broke history.
right? Brock Ballard. But
Hmm.
but poor guy. I mean, uh, and my thing is, if you're going to be that short leash with the head coach, then why don't you look at your front office of staff, like the people that help recruit and draft, the guys that are the GMs, like because they're the ones either trade away your best players or the ones that are not getting the best players to help you. So they're retaining their GM, but I'm like, what did he do to help Antonio Pierce to begin with? What did Shane do
Nothing,
with Brian Dable to help the Giants to begin with? Nothing.
nothing.
Like you put all your chips on Daniel Jones, who has had an injury prone history, and then he's inconsistent, and then you let the guy that was your best player literally walk across the street to your hated neighbor, and now he's flipping you off and laughing at you. You know what I mean? Like
Not only that, but he almost broke history too. He could have, if he would have played last week, he would have probably broken Eric Dickerson's record
he
on
would have had the
youth.
record by stats. Yeah, exactly. Like, but it's pathetic. Like the GMs,
It
I
is
think the owners need to start accounting the GMs as much as the head coaches, because I'm like, if you don't give
definitely.
him the right pieces, then how the hell is the coach supposed to be a coach?
And the thing is, they kept the GM, right? They didn't even fire the GM. They just fired Antonio Pierce, which sucks. And
Yeah,
honestly, like, they're treading on dangerous waters here because what happens if now that they let Antonio Pierce go, who's their option? I mean, you have Ben Johnson, you have Vrabel. We talked about Vrabel going to the Pats. Ben Johnson, if he looks at the Raiders roster as it's constructed right now, he's gonna say, "Nah, I'm either gonna go to another team, or I'm gonna go back to Detroit."
right,
Who else does that leave you with? Does Aaron Glenn? Same thing. He's not gonna
right,
want to go to the Raiders, right? So you're limiting yourself on the type of potential candidates that you can replace Pierce with, but now you may not get the top candidate because of how your roster is constructed. So basically, I think they would have been better off keeping Pierce one more year to see what he can do with free agency, what he could have done with the draft, and they go from there to either decide. The only thing that could probably save him, and,
right.
and you and I talked about this off air, is what if Brady can potentially convince Bill Belichick to come and coach the Raiders? Like that's the only way that I think the Raiders can get better with their coaching hire. But I just don't see it
overnight.
happening. I don't see. Yeah.
And and you're looking at it, Danny. Antonio Pierce would have had a chance to draft a top 5 quarterback. You know what I mean this
Hmm.
year. So like what are you doing? He's either going to get Shooter or Cam Ward probably.
You can't
Oh
miss
man,
with
I
both.
don't
Both are
know.
good prospects.
Right, right, and then especially like you have like I mean, they have the pieces to help them, even develop. So I don't know, man. The Raiders are the Raiders for a reason, right? Like the best thing he did was pretty much give Tom Brady stock and percentages of ownership just so he could try to get the ship right and
Hmm.
like go forward and make this like a contender once and for all, right? Like it's the best thing. But you're we're talking about Jerry Jones saying this team's about 5 years away. Like imagine the Raiders with all the construction that's going to be needed to make sure that they get to where they need to go. So it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how all this plays out. But I think since we're talking about coaching vacancies, I wanted to get your. I thought we would do a fun exercise here and talk about, you know, what are some potential candidates, coaching candidates, that would make sense with those respective teams, right? So we have 6 total openings here in the NFL. We have the Raiders, which we talked about just now. We have the Jets, the Bears, the Pats, the Saints, and the Jaguars. So those are the other 5 teams. So I don't know if you've kept track with the Jets, but they've actually had a good amount of interviews already conducted. I believe they
Right.
interviewed Rex Ryan yesterday. They interviewed Matt Nagy. Plus, they also have a GM opening, so they have the
They
potential
interviewed
of.
Vrabel also.
Oh, they interviewed. Oh, that's true. Last week, right? They were one of the first ones.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yep. So I think they already kind of took that head start there, and they're looking for their next coach. But out of those coaches that are available and the ones that they've interviewed, who do you think makes the most sense there in New York?
The Jets, Danny. I mean, honestly, I think Rex Ryan would be good. Just like he's the last person that technically had success with that team.
Yep.
But if you want to go in a different direction, right? Because Robert Saleh was a defensive coach. I'm going towards an offensive minded coach for New York, especially if Aaron Rodgers, like, let's say Aaron Rodgers doing Aaron Rodgers things where he's like, maybe I'm in, maybe I'm out, maybe I'm in, maybe I'm out, type of crap. If you already get him an offensive head coach before he makes his decision, and you get a Ben Johnson, let's say, like, hey, A Rod still hasn't said that he's like retiring, so we have him, we have some pieces. Come do, come see what you can do with this offense. Then I think maybe he doesn't retire. He gives it one more year, and then they can technically still go after a free agent quarterback and draft one, and then have that one grow with the offensive regime because that team.
Hmm.
I think that team defensively should be okay. Like if you, especially if you get one or two pieces like in the free agency market, like I don't think they're going to be that far off in like massive cap issues because they just traded Devonte Adams. They traded some or they got rid of some pieces that probably were, or no, they brought him in. I'm sorry, but I just think that you get someone that can mold this offense to what it should be. You have Wilson, Adams. Uh, there's an Allen on the running back, I think, too, and then the starter is what, Bell or whatever. That's
No,
his name, right? Last name.
it's uh I always forget his name. Um, and I
Yeah,
had him on
me
my fantasy
too.
football team. Uh,
But
you
you know what
you
I mean. Like you have
yeah.
pieces that can get it done. So we need someone that can help them evolve and get better to get it done.
All right, sorry, I don't know what happened there with our internet here, but what were you saying? You have pieces.
Yeah, you have pieces, so you need to get someone that can just mold those pieces and attack and develop them and just go. You get Wilson to back to having 1,000 yards receiving. You get the other guy running, doing good. Try to get him to 1,000. Like there's pieces there with an offensive coordinator. You get Kellen Moore, for instance, because he just shot up to be a hot commodity recently, also because the Eagles are looking so good. Why not bring him in? You know what I mean? Like there's pieces because
Yep.
apparently the Jaguars have requested Kellen Moore, Joe Brady, Ben Johnson. That's a lot of offensive people. So the Jets should do the same.
Yeah. And the running back, I remember his name is Brees Hall. Um,
Brees Hall. There
I,
you
I
go.
I'm in agreement with you. I think offensive mind makes a lot of sense, even though like it might be um, you know pretty exciting to have a reunion with Rex Ryan, right? Given the success that he had as the Jets coach, and then
Right.
given the pieces they have on defense, like he could definitely maximize all those guys. I have no question about that. But I think it's the offense is evolving, man. Like there has to be a way for teams to be able to take the ball down the field, and even with like Aaron Rodgers, like he just didn't show that consistently. And so I think that
Right.
the next move for the Jets is going to be to move on from Aaron Rodgers, move on from Devontae Adams, and I think probably go younger quarterback.
So
And
he
hey, it might be another quarterback, right? Another. Uh, I don't know if these rumors are true, but what if like JJ McCarthy's available, right? Or even Sam Darnold reunion. Like that dude's grown a lot even from his rookie
he is
season in New
kicking
York.
ass.
So you pair him with Joe Brady, you pair him with like one of the top offensive minds like Kellen Moore. I think he would have some success back in New York. I
Right.
just feel like right now, like the whole identity of the NFL is changing more to an offensive league, anyways. And I think that defense is
It's
kind of
been for 15 years, which is sad.
yeah, defense is it's not as valued as it was a couple years back. But I like that. I
Right.
think I honestly would pick Joe Brady. Joe Brady understands the division. He's been with the Bills for the last 2 years. He's an up and coming coach. You can see the success that he's had this year. Heck, he's probably
Right.
even elevated Josh Allen more than any other offensive coordinator that the Bills have had these last couple of years. So that one excites me. If I'm a Jets fan, I think Joe Brady just makes sense there. And then at the same time, they can also go and get another quarterback that's not Aaron Rodgers to kind of mold and
Right.
grow within your system that you're trying to implement.
Yeah, I think going forward, a youthful, quarterback friendly coach, offensive minded for the Jets would be very very ideal.
Definitely. What
What's the next team,
about
Denny?
um, the Bears? I have them kind of as my next team, but let's skip them for now and talk about the Saints. What do you think about the
Woo! All
Saints?
right. So for the Saints, the Saints are so interesting because they are the exact flash of their jersey at this point. Like they look gritty, they look fun, they look like they can get it done, and then they just don't. And then the coaching staff, you know what? I think Robert Sala would be very good there. I think you're talking about Joe Brady. I think Joe Brady would get the most out of Derek Carr for sure. You put him with Kamara if they don't trade away Kamara. You know what I mean? There's some pieces there that have some good flash. So you put Joe Brady with that team. I think that would be very good too. So I like if we're gonna go defense again, we're gonna go with someone that actually can just not be a coordinator. So like a Rex Ryan or a Robert Sala, that can ride the ship and just make it happen if it starts crumbling. But Joe Brady to me would be really good for that team.
I like that. I mean, you can't go wrong with Joe Brady. I think Joe Brady makes a lot of sense in a lot of different places. Even Chicago, honestly, I think Joe Brady would make a lot of sense for Caleb.
Right.
But for the Saints, I think what kind of the whole Vrabel effect, right? Vrabel seems to make a lot of sense for the Pats because he once was a player. He won a lot of Super Bowls. He knows we all know the type of culture he can create for an organization. I think another person similar to that is Aaron Glenn. He used to be a Saints player. He has that, kind of like that Dan Campbell vibe, right? Where he expects a lot from his
Yeah.
players. He's real raw,
The
raw.
it factor.
Yeah, I think that's what the Saints need for that kind of city. And not that Sean Payton was that guy, but Sean Payton had his own way of creating a culture, right? That nobody really could take
Right.
away. Um, and I think Aaron Glenn just makes a lot of sense there, even though he's a defensive-minded coach. Um, he, I think he's the type of guy that would maximize David Carr, or he would say, you know what, if you can't, if you can't elevate our team, then this is where we say goodbye, right? And get rid of him and
Right.
take another route there. I mean, Spencer Rattler showed some flashes this year. Do I think he's a franchise quarterback? I don't. So it's going to be interesting to see what Aaron Glenn can do, but I just think that makes a lot of sense for him there.
Aaron Glenn, I could see
Um,
that. That'd be good. The Lions have to win this year because their pieces will
yeah.
start falling really quick.
Imagine they lose Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn. Like their whole culture is going to change. I mean, not that it'll change, but Dan Campbell will still
No,
have
it
it.
will, Danny, because Dan is just the fourth down guy. Like, I mean, you know what I mean? Like, he's like, let's go. But like, you lose those pieces that like help you with those fourth downs that either are positive or negative. Like that's a big thing. That's a big change.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you're right. I don't know what would happen there. I guess a good thing that what Dan Campbell has, and it may not. I mean, that's if they stick around, right? Because you never know what Ben Johnson or who Ben Johnson's going to bring along with them, or Aaron Glenn. But it seems like the right now, as they're currently constructed, the Lions have a lot of former players as their coaches, so that may be beneficial for. Say they lose an Aaron Glenn or they lose a Ben Johnson. Like I know they have Brian Greasy, uh, see, and they have Antoine Randall L. Maybe they step up and take that role. Who knows, right? It's
Man,
too early
it's
to
so cool
say.
to see that Ranta, like Antoine Randall is such a cool name and like just a fun player to watch. And then the fact that you're like, wait, he's coaching? Like he's a wide
Yeah,
receivers coach? Like what's happening? That's so
yeah.
cool.
You know
I
who
would love to
surprised me that's
see him
coaching?
as an offensive coordinator.
Yeah, I mean, imagine like that dude. That dude just made a lot
He
of
is
great plays.
creative,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, he was.
He would make it
But
fun.
I just think that maybe they take the next step, right, and become those potential replacements for, Brian, uh, Aaron Glenn or Brian Johnson. But who knows?
You said that you
Um,
found someone else was coaching.
oh, I was gonna say, yeah, Heinz Ward. I didn't know he was a coach. Did you know
Where's he
that?
at?
I saw him. I was watching football and I saw him on the sideline. Let's see. Uh,
Heinz Ward? All these
he's
Steelers
with
over
Ari-
here coaching.
He's with
What?
Arizona State. That's where I saw him in the college football playoffs. He's with Arizona State.
What?
He's their wide receivers coach.
That's wild. What? That's
So
crazy.
so
Man,
imagine like
sign me up, man. Make him my wide receivers coach. I'm down.
exactly who wouldn't
Heck
want to
yeah.
make him a potential offensive coordinator in the future, right? Like have him on your
Right.
coaching
And
staff
then
and then elevate him.
his happy, like fun, rah. Like he'd be a perfect coordinator.
Yeah, I know.
Man,
Here
all
we are
right.
talking about the
So
Lions and they're
what's
not
the
even on my list. um,
but I mean
the
they're gonna be on
Jags.
the list soon because they're gonna be all right. So that's I was looking at the Jags request to interview. So Doug Peterson definitely just did not get the best out of Trevor Lawrence, and obviously someone needs to figure that out. But why not go back to like a defensive coach? Because I mean, if Lawrence is going to be inconsistent anyway, we might as well have someone that'll punch people in the mouth. So I would like to see Jacksonville going back to that physical Jacksonville like raw craziness. Remember, like I don't know why they blew up that damn team, but that team that made it to the AFC Championship game against the Patriots, like they had what Ramsey and they had oh man, what was that? Jack, right? Something Jack as linebacker, and like they just had a
Yeah, Miles
physical
Jack.
team. Miles Jack, yeah, and I love that team, and I was like, I don't know why the hell they blew that team up, but I want to see them with like a Rex Ryan, with Aaron Glenn, you mentioned him earlier, Robert Sala, someone that would just bring back physicality to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Because I'm like, I mean, you got a lot of finesse in your damn division. Like Houston's more finesse, all the flashiness they have. Ditch Richardson, like I mean, he's gonna be finesse because he's gonna be running everywhere. The Titans, I
Hmm.
mean, they're trying to figure out who the hell they are. I mean, so You bring that physicality back to the AFC South. I think that would be very, very much worth it for them. So I want to see them with a massive change to defensive side.
Yeah, you know what? I'm honestly surprised that there's not a lot more openings in the NFL. I honestly thought the Colts coach was going to be fired. I thought, um,
Right.
you know, who else? I'm thinking in my mind right now. I just have a brain
Even the
fog.
Cardinals coach.
Cardinals coach is one, yeah. Like I mean, he had an okay season, but nah, they haven't had the success under him that I think they were hoping for. But
Right.
you know, I thought that Stefanski in Cleveland would be one that maybe let go, even though he's kind of had an okay career. I mean, he had a good success last year, but I don't know. You never know with these types of things, right? Owners are never happy with a mediocre season. So only having six openings is pretty surprising to me.
Pretty wild.
Um, yeah, it truly is. But with the Jags, I honestly don't know who would work here. Honestly, like they just seem so dysfunctional at the whole front office level. Like I don't know if you
Jacksonville?
saw, yeah, Jacksonville. Yeah, like I don't know if you saw the interview with their owner, Shad Khan yesterday, but literally they were asking him, "What if one of the candidates that you're interviewing um, requests to have a GM kind of join them, right, with this organization? What would be your answer to that?" And he said, "Well, if they had a good explanation or a good reason as to why, then I would consider it." So basically, he was on this Zoom call with reporters asking about his approach to hiring somebody else, and his general manager is right next to him on that Zoom call. And so, kind
And
of,
he's
you
just
have
like,
the
was he just there? Like,
yeah, like
just
after telling
looking.
everybody, right, that's like sleeping with one eye open kind of thing. That sucks. Um, so yeah, like that's dysfunction at its finest. There, I don't know why you would have a Zoom call, or at least if you know you were going to be asked that question, do a personal or a solo interview where you're not having your GM that you literally an hour before that interview you had mentioned that you're going to keep and retain, and then you come on that
Right.
Zoom call and you say, "Oh no, I'm gonna if somebody has a good reason why we should be moving on, then I'm gonna move on." Like, come on, you can't do that. So based off of that, I don't see them coming up with a top name like a Joe Brady or anybody like that. I think that they're probably they're probably gonna go like a Matt Nagy route or something like that, where it's like somebody used to be a head coach and is mediocre at its finest, but they're just gonna see what happens and roll the dice. So I don't have a special matching there, but it's gonna be interesting to see how that all shapes up, because if you look at them right now, like there's just like this is the moment that the Jags need to find that head coach. If they do not find that head
Right.
coach, you're talking about potentially not helping Trevor Lawrence actually take that next step right in his evolution as a franchise quarterback. Like you're hindering that development. Again, you still need to grow that. You still need to grow that roster. I think the probably the brightest spot that you have with that roster is going to be Trevor Lawrence, and then potentially Brian Thomas, who he actually played really well this year as a rookie. But other than
Dude, he
that,
got
like,
snubbed for the Pro Bowl for sure.
yeah, he deserves to be there for sure. Like he had such a great impact towards the end of the season, and Mac Jones actually looked better with that offense than Trevor Lawrence did, when he was healthy. So that's another thing. Like,
And that's saying something.
yeah, yeah. So who knows? I don't know
Eesh.
what goes on in Jacksonville, but it's going to be interesting to see how all of this shapes up. All right, the last team we have here is the Chicago Bears, and I'll let you give us
We
your.
already went through everybody else? Holy crap.
Yeah, we talked about the Raiders, we talked about the Pats, we talked about the Saints, Jags, Jets. Now it's just the Bears.
Damn. All right, so Pete Carroll, maybe? Pete Carroll, Danny Rumors?
Hey, that's another one that doesn't excite me, but he has a pretty proven record, so who knows?
I don't know, man. He's just getting up there. I just think his old philosophies. I don't know if it'll work now. You know, I don't know. Maybe, but I mean, but hey, if there's worst case scenario, best case scenario, at least you'll have chewing gum around Chicago. So I mean, that'll be all right.
Right? Oh
Yeah,
man, you know what?
you'll never miss a
I don't know
gum.
if I don't know if you've seen our general manager. I know that you probably don't see him a lot because you watch the Cowboys, but that dude's always chewing gum, and the way he chews gum is so annoying to me because he chews like a fucking cow. And if I have to see Pete Carroll chewing gum, my general manager chewing gum, yeah, I don't know if I want to deal with that.
Oh man, I remember ESPN did a damn segment of like some guy that was foreign that loved like the Seahawks and Pete Carroll or whatever. And then he went to a game, and then he ended up inheriting the damn piece of gum that he threw.
That's gross.
So I was like, wait, what? And he has it like framed and everything, and I was like,
Oh,
oh my lord, oh my gosh. But so Pete Carroll's one. Danny, who? All right, so you're a Bears fan. Let's just go with you, Danny. Like, um, who do you want, Danny?
you know who I want, and I've been
Top of the
pounding the
list,
table for
number
this
one.
guy, Ben Johnson.
Well, I can't be there, but oh, okay, well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I Ben Johnson would be my guy, and the reason for that is just basically what I've seen these last couple weeks. Like honestly, I thought the Vikings were going to win this past weekend, and I thought they were going to win simply because they were healthier. Right? I thought that defensively the Vikings would have some success in stopping Goff, but no, like Ben Johnson, I think was the reason that they had so much success and they scored so many points against the Vikings because we both know Brian Flores is an aggressive defensive coach. That dude loves to blitz
Right.
crazy, and Ben Johnson had a solution for every blitz that
An
they ran, and so
answer. An
yeah,
answer every play.
and he made it look so easy, right? Like he maximized the capabilities of his superstars, not superstars, but his offensive playmakers, right? He used Gibbs.
Playmakers. Yeah.
He he didn't even use Amon Ra St. Brown as much, right? He used the speed of Jamison Williams. He used heck even Sam Laporta, right? Had a good day on Sunday. So like that excites me because we have the players in place in Chicago, not to the caliber of Detroit. I'm not saying that, but we do have a shifty running back like DeAndre Swift. We do have a Cole Kmet, right, that doesn't get targeted, and shit, we pay him like $80 million, and we're not using him. Makes no damn sense. We have
Right.
on paper we have DJ Moore, we have Roma Dunze, who's probably gonna develop even better next year, and then I'm not too crazy about Allen anymore. Like I think he's older, he's not as fast, so we could probably improve that spot, but just having the ability to have Ben Johnson kind of maximize our players, I think that's what excites me the most. There is some concern about him based because he's never been a head coach, but I'm hoping being under Dan Campbell, seeing how he's kind of inspired his locker room, he knows what to ask of his players. I'm hoping that kind of transfers over as a head coach. Who knows? We really don't know. But that's what I think, and I think with Caleb Williams being in his second year, this is a perfect opportunity for the Bears to pair him with an offensive mind. And I said this before in the past, and I know that you remember this because I said it sucks when you have a superstar quarterback, but you have a defensive head coach. And now you're losing your offensive coordinator because he had success. And now you have to find another offensive coordinator, right? There's always going to be some sort of type of learning that has to happen with the quarterback and that new offensive coordinator. Here, if we're able to get Ben Johnson, we can keep that offensive mastermind in place for the whole career or whole time that Caleb Williams is our quarterback, and keep that consistency. And all we have to worry about is getting a new defensive coordinator or whoever. And then so there's consistency there, right, in the development of the quarterback. I think that's why I want to go offense, but yeah, Ben Johnson is my number one. I don't know. Honestly, my gut tells me it's not going to be him. I think the Bears are going to do the Bears and do something stupid and go a totally different route. Which if that happens, I'm gonna be super pissed.
They're gonna trade for Mike McCarthy.
Oh my
Imagine
god!
if they traded for Mike McCarthy.
If that happened, Jay, I would become a Dallas Cowboys fan.
That would be
Fuck that.
well. Come on board, sir. But yeah, that would be nuts. Because like Jay Glazer from Fox, the last week of football, last week, he said that there's multiple teams that are considering literally trading for Kevin O'Connell because the Vikings haven't extended his contract yet. He only has one more year on his left. So there's teams that are like, damn, I wonder if we can get something from him or for him. So imagine like someone trading for Kevin O'Connell out of nowhere. Like that'd be wild.
I honestly wouldn't have a. I would not have an issue with that. I think that would be cool. I'd be happy with that. Even though we gave up draft capital, I
Right.
just don't see the Vikings doing that. I don't see the Vikings trading their head coach to within the division, right? Um,
We've seen
I don't know.
coaches traded, man. I've seen crazier things.
That's true. That's true. I guess we
Sheesh.
should not be surprised at this point, right? But yeah,
It's
I like
wild.
I like Kevin O'Connell. I think Kevin O'Connell knows how to lead the team. Um, he has just a. He's also to a certain degree, right? I think there's different categories of offensive masterminds. I think Sean McVay is at the very top, and then followed by him is Kyle Shanahan, and then from there you have like the different like Kevin O'Connell. I think would be after that. So I think he's able to kind of be
He's a
like
good
Ben
one.
Johnson, where he can take advantage of different matchups and things like that. So I wouldn't be opposed to that. I think that would be, although we gave up draft capital, I think that would still be worth it in the end. That's surprising though. I
Yeah,
don't
but
see
that
that
was
happening.
wild. When I heard that, I was like, "What? That's crazy." But hey, I mean, if he's on his last year in contract, and Minnesota's the type of organization that won't extend coaches or won't extend their best players. You know, they'll just like try to
Yeah.
keep them as long as they can. Then like, all right, well, I guess that's that. So I don't know, man. Minnesota's very laid back. So like, even their fanfare, they're just like, yeah, Minnesota, let's go, and then they're like, all right, cool, we're going to bed. Like it's like they're like so mellow and chill. But yeah, man, that was pretty fun. Yeah,
Yeah, I like that.
let's hypothetically, I think Dallas should go if McCarthy leaves. I think Dallas should go defensive, like hardcore physicality, punch Dak in the jaw because being Dak, like just physical defensive coach. If we let go of Mike McCarthy,
Rex Ryan.
Rex Ryan, Aaron Glenn, Mike Vrabel, but he'll probably not leave New England. But like anyone like that, absolutely.
That's another thing, and you mentioned this at the beginning of today's show. Um, the Cowboys are essentially taking a really um, dumb approach with this whole thing, right? By denying Mike McCarthy to not interview with any teams. Um, because right now, Mike McCarthy could be interviewing with the Bears, and you guys can be interviewing his replacement, honestly, if you wanted to take that approach.
Exactly. Right.
Now, if you decide
And
not to keep him, what if Vrabel signs on Friday? What if Ben Johnson signs as soon as the playoffs are done? Like, you're already late to the game, and I think that's
right.
dangerous waters too.
That's Jerry Jones. He thinks he owns everything. He's over here acting in shows now and pretending like he's God's gift to the world and winning championships. Like I'm like, got it,
Oh,
that
wait a
man.
minute. Now I know why he said 5 years. Got it.
Yeah, he's over there in Hollywood and sheesh. But man, this was cool. Well, good to be back in the saddle. Now we're doing the playoff matchups, Danny.
Yeah, playoff is upon us. Man, the season
Ooh,
flew by, don't you
wild
think?
card. Dude, we were just like, oh man, we finally got our podcast. We finally got things going. Like, I'm super stoked. We have a whole season in front of us. And now, Danny, now we got the whole off season in front of us. Like, it's so sad. Football goes
Yeah.
so quick. Stupid baseball and basketball, and like, they just last so damn long. And they're like, well, we're like, they think they're so cool. But then I'm like, you guys don't beat each other up. So, of course, you guys can play like 1,000 games. And like, you're boring
Yeah.
half the time until the playoffs start anyway. So, uh, but yeah, here we go. Wild card weekend, Danny. Well, that's the
Let's
first
bring up
game.
the schedule. So on Saturday's the
Or
first
handy
game.
dandy.
Uh, Sorry, I have news here. Let me pull up the games. So yeah,
Breaking
Saturday's
news?
the first game. No, I was it was just regular news.
Oh,
Um,
okay. Damn.
so Saturday we have two games. The first one being the Chargers at the Texans. So
That's the
let's
first
bring that
game.
up.
Oh man,
hmm
Texas might be sleeping after before midnight because both teams will be out of the playoffs.
So they're playing in Houston, of course, and I wanted to talk about where they rank statistically. Um, like I know just
Right.
from the average eye, right? Not really focusing because I know you and I don't really sit down and watch Texans games, but it seems like the Texans have been struggling, right? Ever since they lost, even before they lost Tank Dell, I think they were still trying to figure out, how they were going to operate offensively. I think not having Nico Collins at a certain time of the season and not having Stephon Diggs really hurt them. I don't think they were able to develop that chemistry and that identity that I think was truly needed. Their defense is no joke, right? As you can tell, they're sixth here. So that may keep them in the games, but I'm truly concerned because the last couple weeks, the Chargers have been, firing on all cylinders on offense. Like even Quentin Johnston's been catching balls that he normally doesn't catch. So
What?
right,
Quentin Johnson
right.
remembered he was a football player? Are you kidding me right now?
Yeah, I guess he only comes out in January when he thinks it's the playoffs.
Hey,
But
that's all right as long as he comes up clutch.
yeah, I guess that's what it's important, right? You want to be at the dance. So yeah, um, the Chargers aren't that far off on defense either, right? They're ranked 11th. Khalil Mack stayed pretty healthy.
So I
Joey
can't. Are you
Bosa's.
supposed to show the stats or?
Oh, are you not seeing it? My bad. Here I am getting all excited.
No. When we were talking about it, I was like, "Damn, I thought he was going to show it," but I guess not.
You're
I
so
was like,
nice.
"Oh, I guess you got the things."
You don't even interrupt me or nothing.
I'm
Oh,
just
I
going with the
apologize.
flow. I'm just going with the flow. So, no, you're good.
Yeah. So they're
Yeah, there
pretty
we go.
evenly matched on paper is what I'm trying to say. Right. So I don't know what you think about this matchup and who which way you're leaning, but give us your thoughts.
So obviously we're like from Texas, so I'm kind of like, all right, Texans, like show me more, show me that you can finally jump the big brother in Dallas, right? Like just don't be irrelevant and like make a push to something great. And the Chargers, everyone knows, even you, like I love Justin Herbert, came from Oregon, the Oregon Ducks, and like that's been my boy since he's been in the NFL, and I just think that Houston's offensive line is such a liability right now, and I don't know if they can. It's physical ball now, right? Like it's the playoff. Like everyone's gonna just come and headhunt because it's one more game or one less game that we're not gonna have. So, I just think the Chargers front seven is just gonna wreck hell on Houston Stroud. So I think the
hmm
Chargers win by I say they win by 9 at the end.
Wow. Okay, that's a convincing win there. Um, and I'm with you there. I think that offensive line for the Texans really does concern me. I just think there's no time for CJ Stroud to get in rhythm because of it. Um, I don't know, man. I just don't see, and we may be surprised, right? Last year, I
Right.
didn't think the Texans were gonna win against the Browns, and they destroyed the Browns in that wild card round. So who knows what team
Yeah, they did.
shows up? But yeah, like right now, from what I've seen the last couple weeks, from what my eye is telling me, I think the Chargers are just a better team right now, a hotter team right now. So I
Right.
see that they win this game here. I don't know if it's going to be
A-
9 points, but it'll be a close game, I think.
And I love the coaching staff in Houston, but I think Harbaugh, I mean, he's been in so many dances and so many important games, right? Like I think he'll just have his team more ready to go.
Yeah, yeah. I think just having Harbaugh, even just having Harbaugh as an X factor, like that
Right.
dude is so clutch in the playoffs. And you go back to his days with the 49ers, right? I think a lot of people didn't truly
Right.
believe. I'm talking about the 49ers' first year going into the playoffs with Harbaugh. I don't think anyone really believed how strong the 49ers were, and they just showed up, right? I think they even went to the
Right.
NFC Championship game and lost to the
Year
Giants. But
one. Yeah.
yeah, and so I just think that he's gonna have his team ready to go. D'Amico Ryans looks lost out there on the sidelines, doesn't know how to motivate his team right now. So I don't know. Um, I just don't see how the Texans can win this one. But again, um, the NFL is funny when it comes to the playoffs.
I think he lost to the Seahawks. Is the first loss he think he did.
Oh, was it?
Was
Okay.
that the Sherman like don't Crabtree with that
No,
trash receiver on?
no. I think that was years later, if I remember correctly. I think that first
But
one was
that's what I'm saying. I think Mike Singletary was the one that lost to the Giants in the NFC
no.
Championship.
Mike
With
Singletary never
that
made the.
punt returner?
Yeah, that
Are
was
you
Harbaugh's
sure?
first year. Yeah, I'm pretty.
Wow.
That was Kyle Williams, I think, that fumbled that punt
Yeah, he
return.
fumbled the punt return, and that was the key why they didn't go to the Super Bowl
Yeah,
because it was going to be the Patriots and the Niners at that point. Dang, that's crazy. That's
but then
wild.
they uh they were able to get that monkey off their back. I think the next year, right? They went to the Super Bowl and played the Ravens. So that must have been like 2011 or something like that.
No, I think they went after the year that they lost to Seattle in the conference championship game because they lost to Seattle, and then the following year Seattle got a little nicked up or whatever going into the dance, and then the Niners obviously took over, and then that's when they went to play Baltimore.
Yeah, you might be right there. I know all these seasons kind of intertwine in my memory.
It's so many, like yeah, there's so many. Like we've watched it for so long. What's the next game, Danny? This is exciting.
All
Damn
right,
playoff,
next
stupid
game
Dallas,
here.
stupid Jerry Jones.
Ooh, AFC
Stand.
North showdown. This one's gonna be
Woo!
interesting. Um, I think the Steelers beat them the first time. Ravens just beat them a few weeks back, so they're 1-1 this season. But man,
Right,
if you can never pick these games right because you're talking about division opponents that know each other well. So on
and they
paper, you
hate
look
each
at
other.
you look at them statistically, you see, oh shit, the number one offense. Yeah, the Ravens are gonna run away, but you know the Steelers know how they run and how they work as an offense, so they're able to keep up and stay within the game. Another thing to take into account here with this matchup is um, Zay Flowers got hurt last week, right? He hurt his knee.
Yeah,
It
he's
looked
not
pretty
even. He might not
serious.
even play.
Yeah, and if they don't have him, that's another playmaker that's not going to be there. And we've seen weird
Right,
things with the Ravens. I don't know if you remember them the last couple of years, but like they've been a number two seed and lost in the divisional round, right when they had a bye. And that was when the number two seed had buys. You have Justin Tucker missing kicks in the playoffs, which he's pretty automatic. So I don't
and
know. I don't
this
know what.
season. So
Yeah, this is probably his worst season as a pro. So yeah, I mean,
yeah,
I don't know what to expect here. It can go either way, honestly. Again, but looking visually from what we've seen the last couple of weeks, the Steelers have, I think, a 4-game losing streak, right? I think that's what they're on right now because they were 10-3.
yeah,
Um, so is this the week
that's
they finally wake
crazy.
up? Because they have not looked good on
Well,
offense. So
Danny, I honestly think this might be the hardest game for Baltimore to play in the playoffs. Their divisional rival that wants to just ruin everything for them. I think Baltimore will have a better chance of winning next weekend and the following weekend compared to this weekend
really,
by just the schematics of yes, just by the schematics of like the Steelers and how they play Lamar. Like Lamar tends to kind of disappear too in the playoffs, so we don't know which Lamar we're gonna get either. So who knows?
yeah. Sorry, yes, I'm so congested right now. I need to blow my nose, but I'm hearing you. Okay, so keep going.
I kind of noticed, but yeah, I think the Steelers is going to be one of the hardest, if not the hardest, test for Baltimore to make it to the Super Bowl because of the history and because of the rivalry and all that put together. So if they can get past them, then I think that they have a great shot to representing themselves in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, it's kind of like you and I talked about this whole dilemma, and going back to the college football playoffs. I think you and I talked about how Oregon was kind of given the shitty end of the stick, even though they're the best team in college football this whole season, right? And they were given a tough
Right.
matchup to play their first game in the college football playoff.
And being off
Here's the
three
same
weeks, like
situation.
that's crazy.
Yeah, I mean that's a long time. They really need to think about the time they give these teams a rest. But in this
Right.
case with the NFL, I think you're right. I think the Steelers and the Ravens again they have that familiarity with each other that may be not beneficial for the Ravens. Right? They've had a lot of success offensively. They're good on defense, but if they want to play anyone in the first round of the playoffs, it shouldn't be a division rival.
It's not Pittsburgh.
Um,
Yeah, it's not Pittsburgh.
yeah, and so this one's dangerous for the success. And if they lose this round, the Ravens, this is going to be a major, major letdown for this team because right now they're probably I consider them one of the top three teams in the AFC. Like I think they could definitely go toe to toe with the Chiefs if they were to play again. I think they could probably beat the Chiefs again. The one that I'm
They're
kind of
probably top
questioning is
four in
that
the NFL.
yeah, you're right. You definitely they can definitely be top four. And honestly, it wouldn't surprise me if they were representing the AFC in the Super Bowl. Like I think that's how good they are. Um,
Right.
but yeah, this whole matchup here really worries me about their success just because of that familiarity that they have with each other. But for the sake of picking, I'm gonna go with the Ravens here. I am so in awe with Lamar Jackson. Like this is probably the first year where I truly respect his game. And in the seasons prior, like I just considered him a running quarterback, right? But this year he's really shown that he's developed as a passer. Like that dude, I don't know, he has just a crazy vibe about him this season. Like I don't know if you've seen him throw these passes and kind of looking away, knowing it's a touchdown. Like he has that confidence, that
He just
swagger.
turns around, celebrates.
Yeah, and I enjoy that. I think that's pretty cool, and I think having a running game finally really helped him. I think not having he not having to be the one to always run and be the rushing production for that team is truly improved this team and has truly made them a powerhouse in the AFC. So I hope that they do continue on. I want to see them against going up against the Bills and the Chiefs. So I'm hoping for that matchup, but honestly,
Right.
nothing surprises me in the playoffs here.
Uh,
Who you got, Steelers or
I. This is so tough.
it is?
But for crazy pandemonium playoff stakes, I'm just gonna go on a wild hair and say Pittsburgh upsets Baltimore and Baltimore.
Whew. That's not a bad pick though. Honestly, that's not because it can go either way. It's a toss up for sure. Um, yeah, it'd be interesting to see what happens. All right, let's see.
Right.
That's Saturday's matchups, right? Saturday's it's gonna be fun.
It's both
To
AFC,
this,
which is wild.
yeah, that's true. I didn't realize that. All right, so Sunday we get your other Oregon um,
The
favorite son,
Ducks.
Bo
Woohoo!
Nix.
Bo Nix. That's another team that Buffalo did not want to play from the jump. Like
Oh my,
Denver's going in very, very hot. And like Buffalo, like I don't know, Buffalo's just such a wild card. Just because like they've outshined all expectations, no question. Like you and I like had them pretty much almost dead last in the division while we picked when we picked the season, like
yeah,
winners and all that. But the fact is, like this is where the youth comes up. This is where the youth of that defense goes. Like you know what I mean? Like there's going to be a lot of things tested from the jump because you're playing one of the best defenses in the country in Denver. one, and two, you're playing a hot offense, and Bo. Like this is going to be an interesting game. Oh man,
Yeah.
I'm gonna just oh man, this one I'm just gonna say Buffalo just because like I want to see Josh Allen shut everybody up, but I honestly think that Denver can this Denver team can beat Buffalo, go into next week and beat Kansas City. I'm telling you right now, if they beat Buffalo, they'll beat Kansas City. And then they'll probably lose in the AFC Championship game just because a rookie quarterback has never won the Super Bowl. But I think that if they continue hot and they beat Buffalo, they sure as hell can beat Kansas City next week.
Oh man, yeah, they have a tough road. The
Right.
Broncos have a tough road,
But it's
but
it, but they got the pieces to like not care, which is so cool.
they have nothing to lose. You're right. They have nothing to lose here, and they've probably been one of the hottest teams in the NFL these last couple of weeks. Like
Hmm.
that whole Bengals game, that was exciting as heck to watch. That back and forth scoring.
Right.
Bo Nix, Bo Nix just has this confidence about him, and that's what you want, right? Going into the playoffs, their defense is firing on all cylinders. But yeah, man, they have a tough matchup. Let's say they do win against the Bills, then they have to go play the Chiefs and actually play the Stars because they whooped on the Chiefs on last Sunday, right? But no one really played for the Chiefs.
Well,
But yeah,
some
like
starters do have to play, but still, like but to put up 38 points on an Andy Reid team with nothing, that's saying a lot.
yeah, and again, it goes back to that whole Ravens Steelers element, right? Where they're division foes, they know each other well,
Right.
so they have that going for them. But yeah, like honestly, you mentioned this right now. You and I were not believers on the Bills. We thought, they gave up too many of their starters last season, and it turns out that they didn't even need those starters. They could have, they could have won with the tier B players that they picked up or had on their team. Um, and I don't know if you've seen or you saw the actual commentary that Dan Orlovsky made earlier this week, but basically
Dan
it was a
Orlovsky.
segment where they were comparing Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen and who should be the MVP. And honestly, like before watching that Dan Orlovsky segment, I would give the MVP to Lamar just based off what I've seen, but you don't take into account the production that Josh Allen has, right? So Dan Orlovsky pretty much said that based off of what Lamar Jackson has, right? He has playmakers at the wide receiver position. He has Mark Andrews as his tight end. He has a good offensive line. He has now a running game, right? He has one of the top rushing
Derrick
running
Henry.
backs in the league, right? And Derrick Henry. So of course they're gonna win, right? Of course they're gonna be one of the top teams in the AFC. But you compare him to what Josh Allen has, and he has probably, if not similar numbers, better numbers, with less talent around him, a harder schedule because they had one of the hardest schedules in the league, and they were
Right.
still number two seed in the AFC. Like that speaks volumes in terms of how impactful Josh Allen was to the success of the offense, right? So that made a lot of sense to me, and it made me switch my opinion to Josh Allen. And with all that said, I think that now they deserve their flowers for sure because they were the second team in the AFC. I don't see them losing this week because they're not ready to go, right? I think they're motivated this year. They might even lose Joe Brady, right, as a head coach. So if they lose, like this is the moment for them to take that next step. Um,
Right.
if you
This is the
want to
moment
beat
they
the
need
Chiefs,
they
this
need
is
to
the
win the Super Bowl.
exactly this is the year you beat the Chiefs because the Chiefs don't have an offensive identity. They're barely winning. They're barely getting by. So now you have nothing to lose. Go and beat them, right? Go beat them in Kansas City. You can do that. You did earlier this year. So I think I don't see them losing this week. I think they're going to be on track. They're going to be ready to go. Um, and I don't know. I would love to see a Cinderella team, and I think the Broncos would be the perfect Cinderella team. I just think the Bills, though, they have unfinished business, and I think they're really trying to prove a point this year that they do belong with the AFC's elite teams. So I'm going Bills. That was a long-winded
So
answer, so I
Danny, going back.
apologize.
No, no, I like the thorough answer. Going back to the MVP talk, I think Saquon Barkley should win it because if you take him out of the Eagles, they would have not had the success that they had this year. Tush push would have
Definitely.
looked like shit because we know when everything's on his shoulders, it doesn't go well. Um, so I think Barkley should have won, but they're going to give it to a quarterback like they always do. So I picked Josh Allen because pretty much what you just said. Like he has way less than Lamar and way less than. I mean, even Joe Burrow, even though they had a losing team. I mean, he has Jamar Chase, and all they do is light up everything.
Mhm.
So yeah, I think it's Allen and Barkley. I think Barkley should win, but of course they're going to give it to a quarterback because they get babied. So give it to Josh Allen.
On another note, with the MVP conversation, I think that this needs to be changed. I hate the fact that we're not able to celebrate the top running back. We're not able to celebrate like Jamar Chase being a triple crown winner, right? In receiving yards, touchdowns, and receptions, like that kind of stuff. The NFL should have an MVP based off of okay, defense is fine. Defense makes sense because with the defense you can pick the best defensive player in the league. But with the offense, like
Right,
you're
because
always gonna put
everything's
a
prone to
quarterback.
the offense anyway. Right.
Yeah, like you're always giving it to a quarterback. So let's have an MVP as the MVP as far as running backs, MVP as far as receivers, and then the defense can remain the way it is right now. Like I think not everybody's getting their credit for the success that they've had, and I hate that they always pick a quarterback over running back. And like in the past, right, early 2000s, it was common to see running backs like LT win a MVP or Marshall Falk win an
Man,
MVP. But now you don't see that. Right now, you only see quarterbacks winning it, and that sucks for them.
it sucks for the league and us as fans because like it doesn't even make it a race or it doesn't even make it interesting. We're just like, well, they're gonna give it to a quarterback, so why even
Yeah,
bother?
it's unfair for sure.
All right, so we both
All
picked the
right.
Bills.
Yeah. Well, you picked the Broncos. No, you're going with the Bills.
No, I got the Bills just because I want Josh Allen to prove people wrong. But I'm just saying,
Uh,
if Denver beats them, they're gonna beat Kansas City.
hey, we've seen the Jacksonville Jaguars shock the world, right? We've seen the
Right,
Titans
I'm
shock the
telling you.
world in the AFC. Yeah, it can happen.
Okay, get hot at the right time.
All right. Sorry, my computer's taking a little bit here. What is going on? All right, here we go. So we have the next matchup on Sunday is going to be the Packers and the Eagles.
Ooh, both teams I
Uh,
hate.
I know.
Man,
I'll
this
kick
is
us off.
tough.
I'll kick us off while you're
Yes.
thinking about. So, with this one here, um, I have not been impressed with the Packers recently. Like on defense, they're solid, but when you're going up toe to toe with the Eagles, you have to find a way to make life miserable for you know Hurts. Um, and honestly, I think it would have been a much more um, equal matchup or a closer matchup if the Packers did not lose Watson last week. I think Watson
I know.
provides that home run ability, and having two of them, because I know Reed is also that. Jaden Reed has been really good for the Packers. But what worries me now is you're putting a lot of pressure on Jaden Reed to be your playmaker. And other than him, who else are you going to rely on? Because there's really nobody else. The tight end position, you can't really depend on them to be your playmaker in the playoffs. So I think that worries me for the Packers. And then the Eagles, their secondary has shown up the last half of the season. They've gotten better and better. And so I think that's just going to be an advantage for the Eagles here, where they're going to be able to lock down Jaden Reed. And then you're going to see, I'm predicting, you're going to probably see Jordan Love try to make a lot of big plays, which will probably result in turnovers. And this year he's turned the ball over quite a bit in comparison to last year. So Yeah, I think that that injury truly hurts them going into the playoffs. Um, and they're only giving the Eagles, more advantages here. Plus, you have Saquon Barkley rested. Like that dude's probably gonna go off.
What's good, Danny, is that two teams I hate, one's going to be gone from the jump. So that's the only great positive here. And unfortunately, my division is going to move on because the Eagles are just going to handle Green Bay's business. Like Jacobs, I think they should do run. I think they should be run heavy. If I'm Green Bay, I'm going to be
Yeah,
run heavy and be physical this game. But I still don't think that they'll have enough to beat Green Bay. But that'd be cool if they beat them. But I just don't see it. So I think NFC East, the Eagles move on, and the NFC North gets one gets taken out.
I just thought of some. Oh no, they're not playing in Green Bay. I was wondering what weather's gonna be like in Philadelphia this week. I don't
Oof.
normally it doesn't really snow, be
All
fun,
I heard
but
that there's a heavy chance of cheese balls coming.
there's gonna be cream cheese and actual cheese.
Yeah.
Um,
Yep, cheese everywhere.
but yeah, no, I think from what I see, the weather's gonna be in the
So we
37s,
both
high
pick Philly,
37.
right?
Yeah, I think Philadelphia is gonna be the winner here. But the one thing we didn't talk about in the Broncos and Bills matchup is the
Bills.
weather. I was looking at Buffalo, and Buffalo's actually going to have chance of snow. Um,
Ooh, that'd be
so
so awesome.
that would be cool to
I
watch
hope
them in the
so.
snow
I hope.
for
I
sure.
hope so.
So football weather, who doesn't want to see that, right? I think the Bills already played in the snow earlier this year against the 49ers, and they looked like they were having tons of fun.
I love snow football, man.
That's the best, yeah.
So
That's
that
how football should be played in the winter. All right, here's
so
another
the next
division
one, the
division fight.
Commanders and the Buccaneers. Uncle G, I am sorry, but Baker has been baking, and I think the oven continues to overheat. And I think Tampa at home will upset the rookie and Dan Quinn and send them off to be one and done.
Interesting. You know what? To your point, right? I think the Commanders have started slow in a lot of these last couple of games, right? You go back to that Sunday night game against the Falcons, um, and they were down for pretty much the entirety of the game until the very end. Um,
Right.
so I don't know what's going on there. Like I don't know why why they're starting off slow. Um, but the Buccaneers, man, their offense is clicking, right? With no surprise there. I think Baker has been able to do a ton with a lot of less talent, right? When Mike Evans and both Godwin were out, he was still
Right.
making the train go. Um, I just don't know, like Commanders. I don't see Jaden Daniels' season because it's a magical season for a rookie. Like that dude impresses me like every week. I don't see it
Right.
ending here. I can't see it ending like this. I want to see him move on. Um, so I'm gonna go with the Commanders here, and hope for Jaden Daniels to move on. But this is a tough matchup too. And I was just looking down at the bottom. They actually played this year. They played in week 1, I believe, and the Bucks
Mhm.
won. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see what they've learned from that matchup and see if the outcome's any different here on Sunday.
And isn't
Um,
isn't the aren't the Commanders the 7 seed?
mm, let's see the playoff bracket. I want to say I want to say they're the 6th seed. I want to say, but I could be wrong. Yeah, they're the 6th seed.
Who's 7 then?
That would be the the Packers.
Wow, really? Okay.
Hmm.
Yeah, because the Packers lost to the Vikings. What really hurt them, right? Yeah, that's
Yeah,
crazy.
they lost 2 in a row, so that hurt them bad.
Uh,
All right, let me go back to that.
All
So, you know
righty.
what I was gonna say before we move on
Well,
to the next
technically,
game. You and I talked about Mike Evans, and we got to give him his flowers too because that
man,
dude became
that
the
dude,
first wide receiver, right, to have how many seasons consecutively of 1,000 yards? 11, right?
11 straight, 11 straight, 1,000 yards, tied Jerry Rice's record. Yikes, bro.
If if
Speaking
that
of
does not make him
records
a
and stuff
first
like that,
ballot Hall of Famer,
oh
that's gonna
yeah,
be a damn shame. Like he deserves that for sure.
he is amazing, and he is the most underrated, under talked about player ever,
Yep.
ever. And he just quietly just did 11 straight like his whole career. He's had 1,000 yards, and he was injured sometimes. Like that's
How many
crazy,
games? Like 4 games, right? He was out 4 games and he still did it. That's impressive as heck,
right?
man.
Speaking of impressive, Micah Parsons became the second player only in history, other than
I
Reggie
saw
White,
that.
to have 12 plus sacks first 4 years. Like that's crazy.
Yeah, you don't want to piss him off, man.
And
This
that
is a
dude
dude
was
that you.
injured. that
Yeah,
dude, that dude.
yeah. No, that's amazing in
He would have
itself
had
too. And
20 sacks or more.
this is somebody you do not want to piss. And Jerry Jones better be careful because this is a guy that you want to have in your franchise for his entire career. And I know there's been a lot
Right.
of
I hope
conversations
he
whether
pisses
about
him off.
extending them or not.
He breaks his jaw. I hope he
Why?
pisses him off. I hope, yeah, I
No,
hope Jerry pisses him off so he can break his jaw.
that won't happen. He'll go to the Eagles instead, and hurt him that way.
Oh, that'd be. I would not even watch football ever again. I would just be like, no, I'm out. I can't do this.
So
Man, this
this
one's
is
so
interesting.
intriguing. Can you imagine a
Yeah.
14-3 team losing in wild card?
Oh my God, that would be.
It's
This would.
possible.
It is possible they didn't get a favorable matchup here, which sucks for them.
Mm-mm.
Um, but this would if that happened, Jay. Like the Vikings fans would be. This would be like a backbreaker for them because we all know what are the Vikings known for in the playoffs? Choking, right? That's what they do. So they already have a long list of those types of uh, heartbreaking
Bro, they're like
moments.
porn stars
Now,
now. I mean, they they have gagged so many times. Like they might as
oh
well
my
do an
God,
OnlyFans.
exactly. Yeah, that would I'd feel bad for my
Dude,
boss for sure. He's a huge Vikings fan, and yeah, that
and
would
I'm
be
actually
horrible.
going for them. Like I don't mind the Rams, but I'm like I want to see Minnesota in the mix. Like I just want to see something
Yeah,
different.
that would be cool, man. And I don't know if you saw or if you heard Dan Campbell after that Sunday night matchup. He told Kevin O'Connell, "We'll see you in 2 weeks." So that would be
Right.
cool rematch there to see them kind of go back for a third time.
But it wouldn't be
I
two
just
weeks. It'd be technically 3 weeks.
it would right because they wouldn't play them in the divisional round. They would have to play them in the
Because they would
conference
play Philly.
championship.
They would play Philly. They would play Philly.
True. Well, so doesn't it work like
Damn, I
this?
hope
Like,
they
so
play
let's say,
Philly. That'd be cool. I hope they beat Philly.
wouldn't it be like this, Jay? Like, so if, of course, the Lions are moving on, but let's say the Eagles win, they'll be the 2 seed, and let's say the Bucks win, they'll be the 3 seed. Wouldn't the wouldn't the Lions play the
Oh,
worst seed of the
yeah.
remaining?
Oh, okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. So like so he figures that Tampa's going to be Washington. That's probably why he said that.
Yeah.
That makes sense. So then Tampa would go play Philly. That makes
Mm-hmm.
sense. But if
So it
yours
could
is
happen.
right and Washington wins, then yeah, Minnesota would go play them in 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Because they would have to go beat Philly. Man,
Interesting.
this is wild.
But you know what? We're talking about the Vikings, getting, having a shitty hand with their luck here. But um, it sucks. It's unfortunate right now what's going on in California with the wildfires. But if
Oh,
it continues to
dude.
get worse and they evacuate, then I think there was a report earlier saying that the Rams would have to host in Glendale, so it would be I mean, even though it's
They
5 hours
should
away
make. They
from
should go to
California.
Vegas. They should go to
y-
Vegas.
Yeah, something different like that, right? Make it more in the middle. But who knows? I don't know
And well,
what they're
yeah, make it
thinking
more
there.
like raw, and like maybe everyone go crazy. But Danny, who you picking? Because this is a wild like wild west, really, like for real.
I would like to see the Vikings move on, but something in my gut's telling me that the Rams are gonna win. Um, the Rams have just my Ram. The Rams have. I said my
Ah,
Rams. The Rams have been in a lot of close games
Gabe, you better
recently,
get him, Gabe.
and I don't know, man. Having Puka rested, having Cooper Cup rested, um,
Because running
I just
around.
see that they're gonna be in the game. I think they're gonna make it really close, and then hopefully they stay at home because then it'll be really tough on the Vikings. It'll be a home game for the Rams.
Right.
If they go to Glendale, then who knows? It's a toss up.
Yeah,
Who even knows if it gets sold
I
out?
want the
Um,
Rams. I want the Rams to play at home for sure.
yeah, that's the way it should be. But yeah, Jay, I'm gonna go with the Rams here. It's just I don't know. I have a feeling that the Rams will be able to compete with the Vikings, and we're talking about again offensive masterminds, right? You have Sean McVay, and with Sean McVay, you'll always have a chance.
Dang. So what if Kevin O'Connell's like? I mean, what if they like? Excuse me. What if they? Dang. Because like
This
that'd
is
be wild,
this
man.
was this was earlier in the season. Remember that Thursday night football? This was probably
And
the
they already
first
beat him
loss.
down.
Yeah. So I mean, it can
Wow.
happen. It can happen.
It could happen. Um, buyer beware. But I mean, I have to make this list fun. We've only been off, I think, on two of them or something. So I'm gonna have to make it three. I'm just gonna say Minnesota goes and does the unthinkable and actually wins a playoff game. Whoop, whoop.
Okay. We're different on two games. You picked Pittsburgh. I
Two,
picked the Ravens. Yeah. And you picked the
three,
Vikings.
sir.
I picked who? What's the third one?
Tampa and Washington.
Oh, I didn't write that one down. My bad. You're
I
right.
was
You're
like,
right.
damn, what?
That is three. I'm not on medication today, man. This is sober mind here.
Maybe you need to get on
Um,
medication. Let's forget a little.
I'm telling you, man, this Arizona allergies is no joke, man.
Oh, I'm sure.
All right. So you have the Bucks, correct? And
Right.
then I have the Commanders. Yep. So that is three. Cool. All
Let's see
right,
how it
man.
goes. Man, this is fun. We broke in the new year, Danny. Our first podcast in 2025. Playoff wildcard
Yes.
weekend. Man, how sad that we just got to wait for Dallas and Chicago until August. Like, hey, I was going to say, uh, they play in Chicago this year, right? Dallas and Chicago?
That's right, buddy.
Dude, imagine doing the podcast like a day before and then like going to the game and then like, dude, that'd be so dope.
Let's do it. Save up.
Dude, I'm
Let's take a
down.
trip
I'll
out there.
start saving right now. Dude, I
I
love
think that'd be
Chicago, and then
fun.
I'll go honor Uncle G because he took me out there.
There you go. Yeah, no, and tell your brother that'd be cool to have him out there too.
And I was about to say, like, yeah, we'll tell the brothers and like see if we can all just make a bros trip. That'd be so fun.
Yeah, I'm sure Gabe would be down for sure. But
That'd
yeah,
be
no,
so
we're gonna
cool.
play.
Yeah, I'm
We're
down
gonna play the
because my brother would
Cowboys
love to
next
go
season.
see. I don't know if he's ever
Oh,
been in Soldier Field, but my brother's about like nostalgia and history of sports, so like he'd be so down to go.
yeah. I mean, Soldier Field's nothing like let's say Fenway Park or Wrigley Field. It's not like that, but it is a cool
But the
vibe
history,
nonetheless.
though, I mean,
Yeah, yeah. There you
I
will
wonder
get it.
when we're gonna
You will
play.
get
Yeah,
it
that'd be
there.
fun.
Like there's just a lot of cool things about Soldier Field. It's an older stadium, but they do commemorate like soldiers and all of that. So I think that's a cool element to it. Plus, you know that the Bears have played there for several years. But yeah, no, it'd be cool nonetheless. I think it gets really wild. And then you know how it is. Cowboys fans travel just like Bears fans travel. So you're gonna get a good amount of Cowboys fans there. It always happens when they play at Soldier Field. So It's gonna be a lot of fun, and that's a trip worth
That'd be
going.
so cool, dude. That'd be a fun. Yeah, that'd be fun as heck. Yeah, I'll let.
I
I'll text Frank and be like, "Yo, Danny." And
Yeah, tell him. Let's see what he says. Hopefully, hopefully it's not too like in December or nothing like that, because then that would be a little bit brutal. It would be super cold. Hopefully it's like around September, October time
hey,
frame.
you want to talk about
Uh,
snow and all this stuff, so you better be ready. You better be
hey,
ready.
hey, I don't mind. I don't mind going in the snow. I've went to a couple. I went to one snow game at Soldier Field. It's not fun, but I'd do it again.
It's not fun. It's not fun, but we'll do it. Knowing our luck, it
Just
will
for
be in
you,
December.
right? Imagine. But you know what? I was hearing earlier this week because they were talking about future opponents on Chicago radio. I can't remember what station, but they were talking about how most likely this is a game against the Cowboys that's going to be a primetime game. So it's either going to be a Sunday night game or a Monday night game, which would be pretty cool to go to.
What?
Yeah.
That
So
would be
definitely it's worth
sick.
going. Imagine if that happened, we
That
can
would be
definitely
awesome.
like tailgate and do some stuff like that. Chill at the before we go to go see them play, but hopefully that's the case. I would like to see that.
Yeah, and you guys play the North too, huh? You play Chuck's Browns too, right?
Yeah. So yeah, Chuck, we play the Browns at Soldier Field, which is pretty cool. That one will probably be a
I wonder
December
if
game, knowing the schedule makers.
I wonder how Chuck's feeling. Like, I wonder if he's like wanting Stefanski out, or if he thinks Miles Garrett's going to ask for a trade because like those Cleveland's in a whirlwind of a loop de loo. Like that's an organization that just doesn't know where it's going.
From what I can recall, I think Chuck was a big supporter of Kevin Stefanski. I think he really liked his the way that he's able to capture the locker room and motivate them. I think he likes him as a play caller too. So I don't think there's any issues there with Kevin Stefanski. I think his issue is probably more going to be along the lines of the quarterback position, because I don't know if you saw this a couple weeks back, but they're intending to keep Watson, and that was surprising to
What
hear.
and he had a setback. Did you hear this week?
Yeah,
He
yeah,
had a
he had a
setback in
setback.
his rehab. So, man. But yeah,
So
man,
that's not
always
ideal.
fun, Danny. Man, this is wild card weekend. How crazy! Like, what a we just started this damn podcast, and now we're pretty much almost done with the season. How
I
tragic and
know.
sad. And then by next
You know
week,
what?
Danny, we'll probably have coaching news.
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure. I'm pretty sure the Patriots are going to be the first one. That's just my gut. But you know what? I'm not too bummed about the season ending, because you and I started this podcast in the off season, and they went by fast.
Right.
So at least we have
Yeah,
that to look
well,
forward to.
yeah. Yeah, we started the draft and everything, huh? Like, that's crazy.
Yeah,
We
we
started
literally
before
started.
that.
Yeah, we literally started a week before free agency, which was crazy, in February or
Dang.
March. Was it February? No, usually it's March, right? March.
March. Yeah, March. Because February is like who you're
Super Bowl
bringing
still.
back and all that. Like, well, that too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Damn, that's crazy. Sheesh. All right, Danny. Man, it was awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, we weren't live today, but of course, please like, share, and follow. Next week, we'll probably be back live in your face, on your grill, on your tablet, on your phone, whatever you're watching it. Sun City Leatherheads podcast out. Danny, we'll see you next time.
Peace.